Coming live from Florida, USA is our guest tonight. Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through the industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Don Tolep, Vice President of OGK Creative, a full service branding, marketing, and web design agency located in Florida. He is certified brand strategist. Welcome to the show, John.
What's happening, Agent? How are you, man? Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. I am good. I'm sure you are good. Uh, Withstanding all that.
I have a little bit of a cold, but we're fighting through it.
You look hale and hearty, and I'm sure a lot of people will gain a lot of understanding through your expertise about brand. You know so much about branding, marketing, and web design, even business development. As I was telling you, not for anything they call you the business development dude. As the topic says, Don, as the topic says, Don, will be talking about, will AI be the end of agencies across the world? Though this sounds to be a bit harsh, but you are free to look at it the way it is. How do you look at it with sudden talk of AI and everything with Chat GPT, then Bing, and then the Google thing coming in with the Bard? How do you look at the whole scene? How do you look at the whole stuff panning out?
Isn't it such a great question? It's on the tip of everybody's tongue today. And for me, I welcome it with open arms. So why would I say that? Isn't it going to replace people in my industry? And the truth is, we have a beautiful blend between technology and the human brain. In its current form, Generation 1, Jasper, ChatGPT, etc., it's giving us the opportunity to work faster. The machinery is giving us that opportunity. A perfect example, client calls me up and says, I'd like a proposal. Normally, I would just use the old fingers and go at it. It might take me a week or two to put together a customized proposal. Now, I go into ChatGPT and I say, give me the framework for what a brand strategy proposal could look like. In 1 second, it starts to spit out information, but it's very boilerplate in its current form. Now, I have to customize that presentation knowing what is inside this noggin for many, many decades, and blend it with the beautiful technology that's out there. And for me, that is exciting. So that's one version of what I see. How do you see it?
I see it positively, but I also see it how positively people use it.
Yeah.
Because if it starts taking the place of creativity, then what happens? Just today I read when somebody tried to ask a question in terms of a job application from Bing, then it refused. It said it did not want to give unfair advantage to one person. Now that is about the part of the AI thinking using its head. But in terms of creativity is a very different sort of stuff. The
Correct.
type of people who work on creatives and all things in terms of campaigns and all those are different.
Yeah,
You're
absolutely right.
Yes, how do you see that going alongside with AI? Using it is fine. What about the business part of people or owners, in terms of people who are in business development, who have to look at the full bottom lines? How do they look at it? There might be pressure from them. I wanted to understand your thoughts.
It's fascinating, AJ. If everybody has access to it, millions of people, then we're basically right at an even playing field. Now, the only people that will benefit are the ones that know how to drive that in fifth gear and make it their own. So if only a small select group people had access to it, okay, then that's a very major power advantage. But if everybody has access to it, again, we're at an even situation. So I'm looking forward to seeing the play out, to see how each generation is going to shift. It's no different than when Google first came out. It replaced certain researchers. All of a sudden, you have technology at your fingertips. So, certain people will have to adapt. Certain industries will absolutely be crushed. And new people will have to find better ways of finding how to stay up with the trends and be one step ahead of that technology, because that's the gift that God gave us. We're humans, we're one step ahead of robots. And that's what I believe. How do you put the two together? That's going to be where the magic happens.
Well put, Don. So, should we understand that it's not the AI that is going to be a challenge? It's the people who are into this any line using this technology, or in terms of whatever mental makeup that they carry, will be a problem.
That's
And
that's
as
exactly.
like,
Don't hide
yeah,
from it. Accept it. Learn from it. Pay attention to it. This is the next wave. It's a very exciting time. Do you remember back when AOL first came on? There were people that was saying the web will be a trend. Well, it sure was. It sure wasn't a trend. The people who were paying attention to it and invested, got into Netscape, were the early adopters. Their careers flourished. This is the repetition all over again. Let's ride the wave together in the right fashion.
right, right. Now, let's look at challenges. One is the AI challenge is still not the way we some people are looking at it, that you have well explained. Now, let's look at the challenges that brands have when
Okay.
either they hire the wrong people in terms of creative, or people who just work in their own silos. Or second part is that the creative people get to work with people who are not great empathizers, not great bosses, and that leads to a lot of problem. As we all know, mental health is such a big issue in today's time, especially people who have to meet targets, people you are into business development, people who are in creative line. Bosses come from different aspects, managers come from different spheres of life.
For sure.
They they treat people different, and there is so much of, we talk about toxicity in workplaces. How do you look at those two things together, two things at the same time? But I know you can tackle it very well, plus they are so interrelated. Please answer them at your own pace.
Wow, you don't play around with questions, huh? Those were monster questions. Do we have 3 hours to talk?
We can have 3 hours, but not today. But they certainly, but we need to get to the root of the problem and get
Yes.
out with some
Let,
answers.
let me do my best to answer both of those questions. The first question you asked was, how does a brand go from 0 to 1? How does a brand separate itself? How does it grow? I find in my everyday life at OGK here in Florida that CEOs, vice presidents, business leaders, founders, they come to our office with a common problem. And that common problem is they put their trust in the wrong people. They hired an artist that works from home. They tried to do it internally, but they skipped a major step. And that major step is the deep dive, the thinking of, who am I as a company? What is it that I do besides for putting $100 bills in my pocket? And the biggest difficult question to answer, AJ, why should anybody care? And when you ask those three deep questions and you dig in regards to what is your communication language? How will people resonate when they see me? Have I thought through what problems I'm addressing? All of those strategic thinking type of scenarios, you're on the right road to developing a brand. And that's very, very difficult. I know I live it internally. When I try to take on a project on my own, it's so much harder than if you and I were to sit and talk about your podcast. If you came to my office, the first question I'd ask you, what inspired you about making a podcast? I'd ask you questions about how has this podcast impacted your life, etc. And then you and I would go back and forth until we get to the magic that you bring every day. That is the reason why brand execution firms exist. And that's the reason why creatives get paid a heck of a lot of money to make a brand come to life. Does that part answer that part of the question?
Yes, yes, indeed, indeed.
Okay, great. Let's go to the second part, which is a very difficult question, which is creatives are an interesting animal. They have such a powerful side of their brain that can tell a story, that can come up with a beautiful design, etc. They can problem solve. But what we find today, and especially since COVID, that the world has become a very challenging place to navigate through. We have anxiety in a worst case scenario that we've ever seen. We've seen more depression, more people that are having suicidal ideations, more alcohol abuse, etc., than we ever have before. And that one takes my breath away. On a personal note, we had a family member who had a perfect child, 21 years old, and he took his own life. And that rocked our community. So a group of us have decided to take action and to be able to figure out what do we bring to this world. Well, we're great storytellers. Well, what's missing? Going back to brand. How do you fill a hole? Very important. So what we see is that there are celebrities out there that are going on talk shows that are sharing that they're depressed, they're sharing that they're doing interesting treatments. But what's missing, the key, what's missing, is a thing I call follow up. What is the follow up system? After I listen to a podcast, a radio interview, I watch a TV show, me, the viewer, I don't know what my next step is. I turn off that media and I'm not sure what I should do. So what we're doing is we're creating a vehicle called Tranquility Drive. Why would we call it Tranquility Drive, AJ? Because who wouldn't in their brain want to live in a serene, calm, relaxed, everyday environment? Wouldn't you want that?
Indeed,
Of course.
indeed.
So we call it Tranquility Drive. And our show is about allowing people to not suffer in silence any longer, that you can feel comfortable to tell your mom and your dad. In your culture, is it right now acceptable to show weakness in your family? Is that acceptable in your culture, in your opinion?
Well, you that's a very interesting question. We Indians have been a bit more conservative in terms of showing our emotions too much, but I think that is changing fast,
Good.
and families are opening up, and especially with with so much of consumption and education growing within even conservative communities, that thing is getting more accepted. Now I see more.
That's
I myself
beautiful.
belong to a very, very conservative community, if you say so. But I would say that now in my same community, there is whole lot of openness that's growing. More and more people are into education. They get that they have the windows of the world has opened, and all the fresh air is coming in.
Oh, it's so funny you should say fresh air because that's literally built into our backstory that celebrities roll down their windows while they go for that road trip to open up about what fresh air has come through their life. That's exactly how we tell the story. So we've been working on this now for about a year, and we're getting very close to actually saying action. And I'm very excited about that.
So how do people connect with you on this part, Don? And how what's the best way for them to do so? And even I would like to include all that important links, if there are any, onto the YouTube description.
So because we're dealing with such a very sensitive subject, we are
Okay.
moving in super slow motion to check every box because the last thing we'd ever want to do is for somebody who is in a dark place to put them in a
Okay.
spot that they're even
Got it.
having more. So we're walking very slowly with experts. However, our social media channels will be launching in about a week or two. We're already building the avatars for Instagram and LinkedIn and Twitter and things of that nature. And I would be very fortunate and I would love to share with your audience to hear from them, to hear about what they'd love to see in a multimedia concept. What stories do they have? If you could help me get that awareness out to the world, I would be so indebted, and that would be amazing. Because
let
at the end of
let
the
me
day, we're just trying to give back. That's all we're trying to do.
let me answer it this way. I do a lot of podcasts, but I will consider myself fortunate to be playing more than more a more bigger role than what I do to help promote that. Anything is there. So as I said
I give
before
you
the
a
show,
virtual hug, my brother. A virtual hug I'm giving you right now.
same to you, same to you. I see you, I feel you.
Dude, we're trying our hardest. It takes a village. Do you know that expression? It takes a village. So we've grouped together uh, award-winning producers, award-winning directors, people that have worked with the biggest celebrities in the world, like Prince and Bono and Janet Jackson. We have people that have made TV shows on MTV and other major cable networks here in America. We're very fortunate to have brilliant minds, philanthropists, etc., that all see this as a common problem, and we have to unite in order to make that change.
Wonderful, wonderful. And talking on this subject itself, Don,
Mhm.
let me ask you one thing.
Sure.
Why are creative people in this creative space, they are so afraid to confront their clients? A lot of times this happens. Even I come from a journalism background. I would not like to confront. It's very okay to get into the deepest of story or the difficult of stories, but when it comes to the other side, dealing with people, talking about money, talking about people who are breathing down your neck and everywhere, people don't want that confrontation. Especially creative people sometimes have to do it. Why are they so afraid? What is your understanding? How can we tackle? Is
Yeah.
it again another part of strategy playing by some clients to get the best out of, or the worst? I don't know what they intend to, but how do we save the creative people from such situations? How do you look at this?
It's such a great question. So let's expand it even further. It's not creative people, bud. It's everybody. It's bankers, it's lawyers, it's everyone. So what we have is a situation that each individual comes from a different reason. For one, it could be fear. For another, it could be shame. It's a fascinating thing. I go to luncheons with brilliant people that I would love to have as an advisory role. I'm sitting at a lunch, I'm taking them through our deck, I share about the program. Their brother commits suicide, their best friend commits suicide, whatever it may be. And you can see people cringing on the inside because they're internally like going in through their gut about what is going on through their mind. This is not a fun subject. This is a subject that people have pushed their feelings down for years and years. It's going to take momentum and creativity and depth to rise that to the top because it's been pushed down for so long. You asked me too difficult of a question for me to give you one fortune cookie kind of answer because for everyone, it's totally different. All I ask is of the world or anybody who's watching this, don't repress. Feel comfortable to tell whoever's close to your world, whether it's your mom, your sister, your best friend, your boss. You have to open up because suffering in silence is not helping anyone, especially yourself.
Right, right. How should organizations deal with, especially those organizations in the creative side? You have been into the creative side 25 plus years as a storyteller, video producer,
Yeah,
brand strategist, now a vice president of OGK Creative. You know, and your passion is taking a conflict and turning it positive. How do
correct.
you turn this into positive? How are you looking at things in your OGK Creative? I saw, as I was telling before the show, I saw those pictures, about I have always been seeing those drab pictures on any website I go, but
Right.
your pictures in your company's website, they speak and they
Thank,
give
thank
both
you.
sides of individuals who are working on that in that place. From the outside I can feel it's a happy place. You know it better, but what is your suggestion about all these things to make a happy place, better place, especially for creative people?
It comes down to a few different things. For one, you asked a question about how would companies be open-minded? How would they be accepting? How can they look at it? My key word that pops right into my brain is called packaging. Today in America, the government offers all different kinds of beautiful services for mental illness, for if you're feeling suicidal, etc. But the problem is it's not sexy. It's not packaged in a way that feels comfortable. It's not resonating through our life. What do creative people do better? We look at a way by knowing the audience, by feeling their pain and addressing it in a way that will be packaged acceptable and allow it to seep into our core. And that's the difference maker. It's that blending with culture. And I think that gets us on the right road for success.
Right, right. Not talking of branding, brands themselves, they always want to improve their look, feel, essence, and personality.
They do.
And clients, I read something in your on your LinkedIn profile. The
Yep.
intricate world of marketing, branding, and advertising has never been this complicated. Many
Right.
prospects of ours seem to agonize with how they connect with their prospects, and a large percentage of companies want to invoke inspiration better with their clients, client facing resources, but don't have the horsepower to do it themselves. What do you want to say in these words, and how do you integrate with the desire of brand to connect with their prospects?
Yeah.
How do they do that? Because therein lies the biggest challenge, to get clients, keep them happy. But your clients have to look at their clients and look at to be representing themselves in the best manner possible. How can they be themselves, the best version of themselves for their customers?
Well, would you agree that the first step is really just looking in the mirror and being brutally honest with yourself? Let's take an example that everyone talks about every day: social media. My phone rings, it's a brand new prospect. The first question they ask me: do you guys do social media? Can you make me have more views on my LinkedIn profile, my Instagram? That's what they're concerned about, right? But before you do that, you have to look in the mirror and say, okay, my business made $1 million this year. It's down 30%. Well, why? Are people resonating with your materials? Is it clever? Is it funny? Is it memorable? If the answer is no, and you don't have the talent to do it yourself, you have no choice but to say, can I do better? Am I willing to invest in myself? And who should I put my trust in to make that change? Like Michael Jackson said, it's the man in the mirror, and you got to look at yourself. And that is step one. And that's universal. You really have to look at yourself. Am I doing a great job? And can I get somebody, if not, to help me do it better? That's
Right,
what I believe.
right,
Yeah.
right, Don. So,
I mean,
my
let me ask you a quick question. If it
yes.
was you wanted to improve and get 1 million more followers to your podcast, how would you go about taking your business to the next level? Would you try to do it by yourself, or would you reach out to a firm that has worked with other podcasters that has results that could talk about what is your audience trying to get out of it? Where's the inspiration? Why are you different than the rest of them? How would you go about it?
Well, I would certainly like to go with a firm or a group of individuals, boutique firm like yours, or even an individual driven firm, but who understands me and what I want to do, what exactly, because that is your this whole concept of boutique firms, boutique advertising agency, because they focus on you better. The bigger ones, you are not their biggest ticket client, and so you don't get the best resources. I would always go somebody who can understand the man in the mirror better.
You used the perfect word, bud. Understand. So people come in, they look at pretty pictures, they're very impressed. Oh, you worked with that brand, you must be good. No, 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 no. You have to really make sure there's a connection between you and the creatives you're going to work with. How do they ask the questions? Is every one of their projects completely different than the one before? Do they really understand your pain? Then you have a chance of having great connectivity between client and artist. And that's the key. Don't just look at a pretty picture. Make sure they ask you the right questions to understand your business.
Right, right. On that note, let me ask you about the man in the mirror. That's my last question.
Okay.
How do you look at yourself in the mirror?
Ugh.
Look at the journey of the past. I saw those pictures, pretty cool pictures, and you are looking great even now in real. Okay, so this is the real is better than the picture. So how do you look at the times gone by? You have seen your father was an SBP of Viacom NYC, and you have seen a lot about Hollywood and everything that happens around it. Now, when you look at the past, what does it tell about you for the future? Where do you want to go from where that you are? You are already doing the stuff on mental health that shows the human side of you. What about, is there anything more that you want to share? What is it that you seek for yourself now?
Wow, that's a really amazing question. So, in closing, I would say I'm a lifelong learner. I never settle. I'm always looking to push myself. My dad was a brilliant businessman, and I know up above he's looking down and watching my career, and I want to make him proud. I want to make myself proud. I want to make my family proud. And I'm very fortunate at this stage in my career that it's not just about a paycheck anymore. Now it's about how do I take the skills that I have and be able to bring it to community, to philanthropy, to be able to make the world a better place. So when I look at the man in the mirror, all I'm trying to do is get a tiny little bit better forward every day. You're either going backwards or you're going forwards. None of us stand still.
Right, right. When you look at the mirror, a mirror speaks clearly to you and it also
Yeah,
reflects very well to others.
it
I
does.
get you, I
It
feel
does.
you, I see you. On this note,
Thank you, my
it's a
brother.
wrap, and I'm sure so will the world, so does the world. On
Thank you
this
so
note,
much.
it's a wrap on this
Thank,
very special
thank you so
edition
much,
of the
everybody.
KLM Magic.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye now.